Noah leaned back from his laptop, rubbing his eyes as code scrolled across the screen. The soft click of keys had been his soundtrack all day, broken only by the occasional whir of the heater kicking on in his modest Boulder apartment. It wasn't glamorous. 2 bedrooms, a leaning bookshelf, and a couch that had survived a toddler's worst. But it was theirs. Ellie's latest drawing, a watercolor dragon with glitter glued to its wings, dried on the kitchen counter. A half-eaten grilled cheese sat beside it. Noah glanced at the clock, 4:58 p.m., and quickly hit submit on the freelance bug fix report before closing his laptop. Right on cue, the front door swung open with a thud, and in came Ellie, red-cheeked from the cold, her backpack bouncing as she kicked off her boots. "Dad, you gotta see my clay volcano." "It has a switch now," she grinned, holding up a messy painted lump that was definitely going to erupt in his living room at some point. Noah laughed and knelt to inspect it. "It's got character," he said, giving her a high five. Life was far from easy, raising an 11-year-old alone and juggling contract jobs, wondering how long the car would hold out. But these small, strange, beautiful moments kept him going. After Ellie's mom left 3 years ago, Noah had learned to operate on instinct, patience, and coffee. And even when he felt invisible to the rest of the world, family included, Ellie never let him forget he mattered. She tugged at his sleeve. "Can we do hot cocoa later? I need help with my science fair sketch." He smiled, brushing her bangs from her eyes. "You get the mugs. I'll find the markers." Outside, the sun dipped behind the Rockies, casting gold over the snow-crusted rooftops. Inside, Noah felt, just for a second, like maybe this messy life was exactly enough. The phone buzzed across the table just as Noah poured hot cocoa into 2 mismatched mugs. He didn't recognize the number, but the area code was familiar. With a sigh, he picked it up. "Noah speaking." The voice on the other end was unmistakable. Sharp, polished, and cool. "Noah, it's your mother." Vivian never wasted words. "Your brother is getting married in 2 months. Engagement party Saturday, 6 p.m. Don't be late." Noah blinked, taken aback. "Miles is getting married?" "To Jade Sinclair," she said, like the name should mean something. "Brilliant architect, Columbia. Her work's been in Dwell." There was a pause. "You remember how to dress for a formal event, I assume?" He ignored the jab. "We'll be there," he said simply, already regretting it. "We," she repeated, disapproval seeping through the phone. "You're bringing Ellie? She's family," Noah said flatly. Vivian sighed dramatically. "Just try to keep her from talking about volcanoes or dragons, all right? This isn't one of your little art nights." She hung up before he could respond. Noah stood there, phone still in hand, heart tightening. Ellie peeked around the corner with whipped cream on her nose. "Who was it?" "Grandma," he said, forcing a smile. "Your uncle's getting married. Are we going?" she asked, already bouncing. "Guess so." "Cool. I want to see what she looks like. Is she nice?" He didn't answer right away. He had no idea. What he did know was that their invitation wasn't really an invitation. It was a formality. A reminder that while they were blood, they weren't exactly welcome. But Ellie didn't need to carry that weight. "She's probably nice," he said, handing her the cocoa. "We'll find out soon enough." She grinned and ran off. Noah stared out the window, a knot forming in his chest. Noah adjusted the collar of his one good blazer as he and Ellie stepped out of the car, the cold wind tugging at their clothes. Vivian's modernist home perched high in the Boulder foothills, like some kind of luxury fortress, glass, steel, and too much landscaping. Ellie clutched a small gift bag, handmade cards sticking out the top, her excitement unshaken. "Do you think they'll have cupcakes?" she asked, bouncing beside him. "Probably," Noah said, squeezing her hand. The massive front door opened before they could knock. Vivian stood framed in the entryway in a slate gray dress, lips tight. "Cutting it close," she said, instead of hello. "Traffic," Noah replied, brushing snow from his shoulders. "This is for Miles and Jade," Ellie said, holding up the bag. Vivian gave it a tight smile, then gestured them in. Inside, everything gleamed. Designer furniture, curated artwork, not a thing out of place. Party buzzed in the background. Champagne flutes clinking, laughter rising from a room where they didn't quite belong. Ellie tugged at Noah's sleeve. "I'm going to look for the food table." "Stay close," he called after her. Then he stepped into the parlor, already bracing himself. Miles stood near the fireplace, arms slung around a tall woman in a dark green dress. Jade Sinclair. She was laughing at something a guest said, but turned as Noah approached. Her smile faltered, eyes locking onto his like a puzzle snapping into place. "Noah?" she asked, stepping forward. "It's you, isn't it?" He nodded slowly, surprised. "Yeah. Wow, it's been 14 years, she said, stunned. "You read to my brother, Ben. You brought your little girl. She used to draw him pictures." Her voice trembled. "I never thought I'd see you again." "Neither did I," Noah said, and for the first time all night he didn't feel out of place. Not entirely. Later that evening, after most of the guests had migrated to the dining room, Jade found Noah on the back patio, standing alone beneath a heat lamp, watching snow drift under the glow of string lights. She stepped beside him, her breath clouding the air. "You really don't remember me at first, do you?" she asked gently. Noah shook his head. "I remember Ben, big smile, Buzz Lightyear pajamas, but I didn't know you were his sister," Jade finished. "You were just some guy reading space books to a sick kid in a hospital ward. You didn't know I sat in the hall every day, listening." Noah smiled faintly. "I used to bring Ellie. She'd scribble stars and comets on anything with a blank corner." Jade nodded. "He taped those to the wall next to his bed." "But they were lucky," her voice wavered. "You used to bring him grape juice and make up stories about galactic explorers." Noah chuckled softly. "That was when I didn't think I had anything to offer. I was recovering from surgery, broke, single dad with a toddler. Volunteering helped me feel useful." Jade looked at him, eyes glassy. "You were more than useful. You made him feel normal when everything was falling apart." She glanced down. "He passed a month after you stopped coming. I always wanted to thank you, but didn't know how." Silence settled between them, heavy and real. "You just did," Noah said quietly. For a few moments the wind was the only sound. Then Jade looked up at him. "You've changed," she said, "but you're still that guy. You still show up." Noah held her gaze. "So do you." And in the hush of snowfall something between them shifted, familiar, fragile, and deeply unfinished. Over the next few weeks, Noah and Jade kept running into each other, not just at wedding meetings, but at the grocery store, a mutual coffee spot, even once at the hardware store, where Ellie was hunting for LED lights for her volcano project. Each time, the conversation stretched a little longer. Jade had a disarming way of asking questions, real ones, and actually listening to the answers. One Thursday evening, she showed up at Noah's apartment with a bakery box in one hand and Ellie's name scrawled across the top. "Your daughter told me you bake a mean mug cake. I brought backup just in case," she grinned. Inside, the place smelled like cinnamon and printer ink, cozy and chaotic. Ellie beamed at the sight of her and pulled her into the kitchen to show off her prototype. While the two of them debated lava color choices, Noah stood back watching something he hadn't seen in years. His daughter opening up to an adult who wasn't him. Later, after Ellie went to bed, he and Jade sat at the small kitchen table, sipping tea while snow pattered against the window. "I used to dream about getting out of Boulder," she said, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "Now I'm designing houses here. Funny how we end up where we're meant to be," Noah said. She looked at him, then around the apartment, eyes landing on the hand-drawn family portrait tacked to the fridge. Noah, Ellie, and a yellow cat they didn't actually own. "You've built something real here," she said quietly. "It's messy," he admitted, "but yeah, it's ours." Jade nodded, then added softly, "Ben would love this place." He reached across the table and touched her hand, just briefly. She didn't pull away. That night, after she left, Noah sat alone in the dark for a while, heart thudding in his chest, wondering what exactly was happening. All he knew was that for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he was waiting for life to start. It already had. The rehearsal dinner was held at an upscale bistro in downtown Boulder. All exposed brick and chandeliers meant to feel rustic, chic. Noah and Ellie arrived on time, dressed carefully. Him in a clean button-down, her in a navy dress with silver sneakers she insisted were fancy enough. For a while, things went smoothly. Ellie chatted with a junior bridesmaid about glitter glue. Noah kept to the sidelines, sipping club soda and making mental notes about which relatives were still pretending not to know his name. Then came the toasts. Miles stood up, champagne flute in hand, smile gleaming with self-satisfaction. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," he began. "And of course, a special shout-out to my big brother Noah for showing us all how to live with humility." Laughter flickered through the room. Noah froze. Miles wasn't done. "It takes real courage to freelance from your couch while raising a kid who thinks dragons are a personality trait." More laughter now. Some polite, some genuine. Noah looked at Ellie, who had gone still. Her hand gripped the edge of her chair. Then Vivian chimed in from her end of the table, voice dripping with mock sincerity. "We're just so glad Noah could make time in his unstructured schedule. And Ellie, dear, you really are colorful." A few heads turned, awkward smiles frozen mid-laugh. Noah's jaw clenched. He put a hand on Ellie's shoulder. "Let's get some air." Outside, on the icy sidewalk, Ellie's voice was quiet. "Why do they talk about us like that?" Noah knelt beside her, heart aching. "Because they don't know us, and they don't want to." Ellie blinked up at him, eyes fierce. "Then they don't get to decide who we are." Noah swallowed the lump in his throat. "No," he said, "they don't." It was supposed to be the biggest morning of her life. Instead, Jade stood outside Noah's apartment in jeans, her hair still damp from the shower, clutching a travel mug of coffee like a lifeline. Noah opened the door, still in pajama pants, clearly confused. "You okay?" he asked. She stepped inside without answering. Ellie peeked from the hallway, eyebrows raised. Jade turned to Noah, her voice low but steady. "I can't do it. I'm not marrying Miles." Noah blinked. "Wait, what?" She set the coffee down and ran a hand through her hair. "I've been trying to convince myself that I could make it work. That he was safe, ambitious, connected, all the things people think matter." She looked up at him, eyes raw. "But last night, I watched him humiliate you, and Ellie, and I said nothing. I stood there pretending it was fine, but it wasn't. It isn't." Noah leaned against the counter, silent. "He doesn't care about people," she went on. "He cares about optics, about how things look in photos and who's watching. But you," her voice cracked, "you care about showing up, about doing the hard stuff when no one's looking." Ellie stepped into the kitchen, eyes wide. "Are you okay?" Jade knelt down and hugged her. "I am now." She looked back up at Noah. "I know this is a mess. I know walking out of a wedding on the day of makes me the villain in their story. But I'd rather be the villain than someone I don't recognize." Noah studied her, a storm of emotions behind his calm face. "So what are you going to do?" he asked finally. Jade exhaled. "Go to the venue, say what needs to be said, face it head on." He nodded slowly. "Then I'm coming with you." She smiled, a real one, full of relief. "Good, because I don't want to do this alone." From the hallway, Ellie's voice piped up, firm and sure. "Neither of you are alone, not anymore." The historic Boulder Museum buzzed with guests dressed in designer coats and carefully curated anticipation. Strings of fairy lights glowed above elegant floral arrangements, and the string quartet had already started playing a soft classical medley. Everyone assumed the bride was simply taking her time. But when Jade walked into the atrium, flanked by Noah and Ellie, not in a gown, but in a slate blue blouse and black slacks, the air shifted. Conversations halted. Vivian's smile faltered. Miles froze mid-laugh with a groomsman. Jade walked straight to the podium set up for the ceremony, hands steady, eyes scanning the room. "Thank you all for being here today," she said, voice clear, confident. "I know you expected a wedding, but instead I have something honest to offer." A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. This past year, I convinced myself I was building a life with someone I respected. But respect isn't earned by job titles or photo ops. It's earned by how you treat people when no one's watching. She turned to Noah. "Years ago, this man sat in a children's hospital and read to my little brother. He showed up every day, not because he had to, but because he cared." Jade's voice cracked slightly, but she held firm. "And last night, I watched people laugh at him, at his daughter, at a family that has more heart in one shared dinner than I've seen in 10 networking events." Murmurs turned to silence. Vivian stood slowly, face pinched. "Jade, don't embarrass yourself." "Enough," Jade said, eyes flashing. "I won't be part of a story that rewards cruelty." She looked back to the guests. "There won't be a wedding today, but there is a truth, and maybe that's more valuable than cake and vows." She stepped down, took Ellie's hand, then Noah's, and together the three of them walked out, past gasps, stares, and one slow clap from an elderly aunt who clearly understood everything. 1 year later, the sign above the brick office on Pearl Street read Everlight Solutions, with founder Noah Brandt in smaller, tasteful letters just below. The space wasn't big, just 2 rooms in a cozy lobby with a perpetually crooked lamp, but it felt like the culmination of everything he'd worked for. Inside, the walls were painted a soft gray. Ellie's framed art hung above a worn leather couch, and a potted plant Jade had insisted on adding stood valiantly near the window, only slightly wilting. Business was steady. Small business websites, software consultations, the kind of work that let Noah leave by 5 and still make it to school concerts and science fairs. Jade, now running her own boutique architectural firm, split her time between the city and a corner desk in his office when deadlines weren't crushing her. Some days they worked in silence, sharing glances over laptops and trading playlists. Other days they argued over whose turn it was to pick up Ellie's favorite tacos. Ellie herself had grown inches taller and miles more confident. Now 12, she captained her school's art club and had just been accepted into a summer design camp in Denver. She still wore silver sneakers, but now with blazers and oversized sunglasses she called "my boss look." On Friday evenings, the three of them hosted Studio Night, where friends would drop by to sketch, paint, or just drink cocoa while the city buzzed quietly outside. The chaos and judgment from the year before had faded. Vivian's calls went unanswered, and Miles had relocated to New York after a failed PR stunt. Jade never looked back. And neither did Noah. Every morning when he unlocked the office and turned on the lights, he felt something he hadn't in years. Pride without shame, stability without compromise, love without condition. For the first time in his adult life, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something he got to build, one honest piece at a time. Snow fell in slow, quiet flurries outside the living room window as the glow of the Christmas tree bathed the room in soft gold. The apartment was warm and still, except for the gentle crackle of the fireplace and the occasional rustle of wrapping paper. Ellie was asleep on the couch, buried beneath a fleece blanket, a sketch pad still clutched in her hand, and a half-eaten sugar cookie on the floor nearby. Across from her, Noah and Jade sat side by side, their cocoa mugs steaming in their hands, the silence between them thick with comfort. "She's going to lose her mind when she sees that skateboard tomorrow," Jade whispered, grinning. "She made a checklist," Noah replied. "She even included proper helmet vibes." They both laughed softly, careful not to wake her. After a beat, Jade set her mug down and reached into her coat, pulling out a small box wrapped in galaxy print paper. She handed it to Noah, suddenly nervous. "This is kinda from both of us." Noah raised an eyebrow and unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a keychain shaped like a rocket, etched with tiny stars. His fingers tightened around it, breath catching. "This was Ben's, wasn't it?" She nodded. He kept it under his pillow, said it reminded him of you and Ellie. She paused, then reached into her pocket again, pulling out a second box. This one smaller, older. When she opened it, a delicate vintage ring with a pale green stone sparkled in the firelight. It was my grandmother's, Jade said softly. She gave it to me when I was little, told me to save it for someone who makes life feel like home. She looked up at him. Noah Brandt, will you marry me? For a second, he couldn't speak. Then he looked over at Ellie, softly snoring, a smile still on her face, even in sleep. He looked at Jade. We're already a family, he whispered, voice thick. But yes, let's make it official. She slid the ring onto his finger. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, everything felt perfectly still and perfectly right. At its heart, this story is about the power of showing up for your child, for yourself, and for the people who truly see you. Noah's journey reminds us that worth isn't defined by wealth, titles, or social approval. It's built through quiet consistency, love in the small moments, and the courage to walk away from toxic expectations. Ellie's unwavering spirit, Jade's awakening, and Noah's resilience prove that real family isn't about blood. It's about who stands beside you when it counts. Sometimes, the life you're meant to live doesn't come with applause. It comes with peace, purpose, and the right people in your corner. If this story moved you, made you think, or reminded you of your own second chances, don't keep it to yourself. Like this post to show your support. Subscribe to get more original stories that cut through the noise and speak to the heart. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that they are enough, exactly as they are. Let's keep telling stories that matter. Let's keep choosing kindness, truth, and love every single time.